Today's recipe is a low-fat, low-sodium, healthy turkey gravy. Store-bought gravy has about 750 milligrams of sodium in it.
Wow.
Ours is going to be healthier.
Yes, and it's going to taste great. We're going to use some fresh celery that we've washed, and we're just going to cut that into some 1.5-inch pieces. And we got some fresh carrots that we've washed, but we're not going to peel them.
Okay, that helps you retain the nutrients.
Right, exactly. And then we'll just trim the ends and cut those into some interesting shapes. And we want our pieces to be not too small, not too big. If they're too small, they're going to brown too fast. And if they're too big, you won't get as much caramelization, as much flavor. And
about the size of a wine cork?
Yeah, about that. And then we're going to wedge our onion. And we've got some nice fresh Roma tomatoes. And all we're going to do with those is just trim the end and cut them in half. Jennifer, if you wouldn't mind just arranging those in the bottom of our roasting pan.
Okay.
Now we also have some shallots that we've minced, some garlic that we've minced, some fresh sage that we've also cut very fine, and some thyme leaves that we've just stripped from the stems. Now we're going to mix our shallots and our garlic with a little bit of freshly ground black pepper, and that's going to be our rub to go on the outside of our turkey. We're going to get a lot of flavor from that.
And no salt.
No salt. We need to prepare our turkey so that we don't add so much fat in the beginning. The first thing we'll do is we'll remove the neck from the body cavity, and that's going to be good for our stock. Just put some cold water over the top of that, and that's going to simmer while our turkey's cooking. Now we're just going to remove some of the fat from the turkey. There's quite a bit back by the legs, you can see.
That
So
is
we're just
a
going
lot
to
of
pull
fat.
that off. And there's also a little bit inside here. You don't have to get it all, but we also want to trim this neck fat. There's quite a bit of fat in here, so we can easily remove that just by taking a knife and trimming it off. And we're going to leave the rest of the skin on.
Yeah, leaving the skin on helps keep it moist, right?
Exactly. Now we've got our rub here. Just going to mix that together. And we're just going to rub it on the outside of the turkey. So we're just going to set that right on top of our vegetables, and those vegetables are going to help to keep that turkey off the bottom of the pan and keep it from sticking, and it's also going to cook a little bit faster and a little more evenly. Now Jennifer, if you wouldn't mind arranging those Roma tomatoes around the outside.
Okay.
I'm going to wash my hands because I've been handling fresh poultry, and we always need to wash our hands after we do that. And then we're ready to put the turkey in the oven. Okay, well our turkey is done. We've checked it, and it's reached an internal temperature of 165 degrees, and we're going to let it rest while we make our gravy. Now we've also removed our vegetables, and you can see how nicely brown those are. That's going to add some great flavor and be a great side dish to serve with our turkey. You see all these little bits that are left in the bottom? That's a lot of our flavor, and we want to keep all that, but we don't want them stuck to the bottom of the pan. So what we're going to do is we're going to deglaze with a little bit of our stock.
Now what is deglazing?
Deglazing is just a simple method of adding liquid to a hot pan to free up the little bits on the bottom.
I see. And that's so much better than using broth that you purchased from the store. Store-bought broth has about 1,200 milligrams of sodium, about half of what the average person should eat for the day.
So we're going to add enough to get all those little bits freed up.
Okay, it doesn't matter how much you add?
No, we're going to adjust that later. We're going to want a total of about 4 cups of liquid.
Okay.
But for now, we just want enough to free up all the bits off the bottom. And I'm just going to pour that into our separator cup. Now these separator cups are really handy. It's a great way to get some of the fat out. And we'll just pour that in. And now as that liquid cools, all the fat is going to come to the top. We're going to fill up the rest of the way with our stock to 4 cups. We're going to speed that process up a little bit. So go ahead and dump that ice in there. And that's going to cool that liquid off quickly, and all the fat's going to rise to the surface. I prepared one of these earlier just to show you, and what you normally do at that point is pop it in the freezer for about 5 minutes, and what you'll find is all that fat comes right to the top, and you can see how much fat we'll be able to remove through this process.
That looks like about a half a cup of fat, Richard, or about 8 tablespoons.
That's a lot.
You know, that's about 90 grams of fat.
Definitely.
And it's also, by removing that, you're removing not only that fat, but about 800 calories.
Well, we're glad to get rid of that. Now, if you don't have a separator cup, you can also just pour your liquid into a regular measuring cup and then use a spoon just to lift that fat off the top after it's cooled. Okay. Well, next we're going to pour our stock into our stock pan, and we're going to reduce that liquid by about 1/4. The reason we reduce it is to intensify those flavors and give us a little bit more full mouth feel.
How long does it take to reduce?
About 15 minutes. So now we got most of our fat removed, and we're going to add a little bit of sage. We're going to add about half of our sage now. I'm going to save the rest for the end, and about half of our thyme.
Now, why are you saving some of your herbs to the end?
Well, that's going to give us a brightness and a freshness to our finished product. Adding them now will give us a little bit more depth of flavor, and then when we finish it with the fresh herbs at the end, it gives us some brightness and freshness.
Great.
All right, so that's going to reduce for about 15 minutes. All right, Jennifer, now our stock is reduced and we're ready to thicken it. And we're going to use cornstarch and milk.
Okay, most people use flour, Richard. Why are we using cornstarch?
Well, we're going to use cornstarch because for 2 reasons. First, it's not going to have that raw flour taste. And second, it's going to dissolve a lot better than the flour, and we're going to have less lumps.
Okay.
So we're going to whip that around real good. And then we're ready to add that to our simmering liquid. And you can see that it's actually already starting to thicken up a little bit.
Yeah, that's very smooth.
You want to stir the whole time you're adding your liquid, and then we'll just let that come back to a boil. The way you can tell that cornstarch is completed cooking is it will turn from a cloudy color, like you see now, it'll turn clear in just about a minute. And as that's thickening, we're just going to add the rest of our herb. Sage and our thyme. You can now see that we've got a little shine to our gravy, and that tells us that cornstarch is done and we're ready to serve. And our end result is some beautiful, moist turkey, some gorgeous roasted vegetables that have done double duty. They've added flavor to our gravy, and they're going to be a great side dish. And so we have beautiful, low-fat, low-sodium turkey gravy. What could be better than that?